audio. Yeah. So let's change my background just a little bit. Students. It says right here. Here, Edwards. That's what it says. Hey, hey, Mark, aren't you lucky to draw me? Oh, I can't hear you very well, Mark. You got an audio problem? Yeah, you've got something going on there. Yeah, that's fine. I'll admit you when you get back. All right, let's see if we can hear. Yeah, you still got the same problem. Check. Hey, you know how to fix it? Go to the little speaker, the little microphone icon, and check and see what microphone you're using. You know how to do that? Yeah, I can't hear you, Mark.
Tests.
There you go.
Is
Yeah,
that better?
that's better.
Is it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So better doesn't mean that it's
Well, now it went. Talk again. Yeah, now it went quiet again. Yeah, I can't hear you. It's yeah. If I hear, I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear nothing. Still nothing. Like I said, I see your mouth moving, but I can't. There's not a word coming out. I can't. Okay. All right. Edwards. Edwards.
how's about now?
Hey, there we go. Well, now you went quiet again. I heard you, then you went quiet. Yeah, it's still. Yeah, you're still just. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, I can hear a crackling noise, but I don't hear. Is Harriet going to join us today?
All right, how's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm calling in by my phone instead.
Okay. Okay.
Man, that's weird. Maybe one of my kids spilled a drink on the computer. They cleaned it up. Because it looks fine.
Are y'all still working from home?
So I switched jobs. I got a new gig with our 1890. I'm the ag program leader for NCA&T. And yeah, people on campus are working from home. So I'm still down in Southport. I bought a house up in Greensboro near campus.
Yeah.
But I got to sell this one. Then we're moving up as soon as like school's over and stuff.
Right. Well,
What about you?
congratulations.
What's going on? Hey, thanks a lot.
You know, I'm actually the Southeast District A&R program leader. And so, and the area Ag Econ specialist. So it's a job on top of a job. So
Congratulations. Way to go.
yeah.
Oh, you asked about Harriet when I was
Right.
leaving or checking or something. We touched base this morning, and her allergies are giving her a huge fit. So she can barely talk. So it'll just be me.
Okay.
She may join in just to make sure I say everything we were going to talk about.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, why don't you go ahead and see if you can share your screen? Let's make sure that works. And then I'll start admitting people here in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. That's not what I wanted. How many are we supposed to have up in here?
I don't have a clue.
How
I don't think anybody pre-registered. I think it's just whoever shows up. Right now, we've got 14 people sitting in the waiting room. So.
Ooh, fancy. All right. Gotta find this sucker and drive. My Google Drive. I was like, I should download that thing. I should have downloaded that thing. Presentations.
Did your new position require a PhD?
Yes.
Okay.
I
I've
just
looked.
got that sucker like 2019.
I've looked at a couple of those jobs, but for state level ones, they require PhD, and I'm 51. I'm not going back to school.
Oh, come on.
No.
If I could do it, you can do it.
I don't have any doubt I could do it. I just don't want to do
it. I hear that. I hear that.
So
downloading. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. F5. Yeah.
okay, now share your screen.
Oh, gotta find you. All right, now I'm sharing. It's gonna be this one. Pow.
Right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna hit admit all real quick. It says not to hit admit all until 11 o'clock, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit admit all right now. And we'll start here in, say, 3 minutes or so.
Playing fast and loose. That's okay.
So, But you know me, I don't follow the rules very well anyway. So
Hey, man, they're made to be broken.
exactly. So, all right, let
At
me
least
hit
Ben.
admit all. Got everybody joining us. And Mark, I'll watch the chat for questions and stuff for you.
Ooh, thanks. I mean, you're a true friend.
Well, it's funny when I volunteered to do this, you know, I didn't know who I would get. And when I saw I got you, I was like, well, at least I know the speakers.
Right. How's stuff going on JSIP?
I mean, they're going. It's a different world trying to do all this virtual stuff. So it's just, I'm ready to get back to normal. So.
No kidding.
How's things in North Carolina?
Weather's great.
All right, folks. If you please would mute your microphones, so we don't have to listen to all the background noise. So there's Harriet. Oh, she's here. So.
Hot dog.
Snow in North Dakota.
Ooh.
Well, that's Molly. That's the reason why I live south. So I like snow and little, you know, when I'm skiing. But other than that, no.
Oh, tell us about your last ski trip.
It's been 20 years ago, so couldn't even tell you about it. I could ski this. We had over a foot of snow not long ago, back in February, and so I didn't enjoy that too much because I had to feed animals and break ice. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Okay. Snow in Wisconsin too. Oh, Mark, I got 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and get them hit admit all one more time, and we'll go ahead and get started here. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this session here at PILD. I am JJ Jones. I'm the area ag economist / Southeast District Ag Program Leader and for the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service. And today our session is going to be presented by Mark Blevins, who just told me he's swapped jobs, but Mark is now works for North Carolina A&T as the statewide program leader. I've known Mark for quite some time, and he was just a good old county boy from North Carolina when I met him. So anyway, without any ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. So go ahead, Mark.
Hey, thanks a lot. And how about that PILD conference so far? Give me some stuff that you're learning that you're going to put into practice from what people talked about yesterday. You can put that in the chat. You can pop in and say what you're thinking. And while you're doing that, I'm Mark Blevins. I'm the new Ag and Natural Resources Program Leader at NCA&T State University, the Extension Service there. Associate Administrator is my title, so that's fun. And all those problems that I used to see on campus, right? I'm now part of those that slow things down, make things way more complicated than they're supposed to be. But I'm going to talk today about research I did to earn a doctorate and get into this kind of trouble. I surveyed all the county commissioners across the state of North Carolina and figured out what they like about extension, what they think about us, and how they want to hear about our programs. So what are you saying about what you like about this and what you're doing about telling extension story based on what you learned yesterday? What are they saying in the chat there, JJ?
Well, we've got, leadership challenge, love the leadership challenge application, more effective storytelling approaches, and how to tell our story better is kind of what we've got listed in the chat box.
Well, I'm going to try to reinforce some of that learning today. Ooh, let's make this happen. Have you ever wondered what county commissioners or your local elected officials think about your program, what they really think, not just what they say in front of you or to the people you work with? I wonder if you wondered what their suggestions are for strengthening that relationship, whether you already have a good one or whether it's a dumpster fire. We'll figure out how to make that better. And what kind of information they really want. Like in the Hoover app, oh, thanks for engaging on that. That's really good. People asked about what people really want when we're talking to these elected officials. And so, well, I'll tell you what the folks in North Carolina said. And bottom line, I was really surprised that they actually told us stuff. But I've taken that to mean that, if you want to learn something, if you want to find out what people think, then ask them, especially in this scenario where it's local elected officials. I mean, their job is to take input and to make decisions on things. So they're not as tight-lipped about what they really think. So ask them. I'll have some tools for you to do that shortly. All right. But not just what kinds of information they want, but how they want to receive it. Is my annual presentation cutting it, or should I be doing something different? Well, I hope these are just burning in your minds because they were for me and no longer. I'm going to have a handout for you. I'll send you a link in the chat in just a jiffy. I'm also going to send you a link to my dissertation later. Not that I want you to read that, although it's really exciting stuff. But the last 3 pages are a ground truthing instrument. You can take the instrument I put together based on other research from across the country, and Louisiana to Washington to all sorts of places in between, Oklahoma, JJ, and your neck of the woods. Put those questions together based on that. And so it's a decent document, and you can try that in your own backyards because your mileage may vary, but you can figure that out by asking the folks. In general, folks in North Carolina, hopefully it's the same for you. It's a good sample of the population. If you're like our state, then local elected officials generally like us. So they had overall positive perceptions about cooperative extension. And hopefully that's the case as they keep paying for us, keep funding us. So, but we can also do better, not just with the kinds of information, but the volume. They want more information out of us. So I'm willing to put a couple of dollars on that being the case in your neck of the woods as well. There's 100 counties in North Carolina, and each of them have a board between 5, like the picture on the left from down in Robeson, I believe. And then Bladen County is one of the biggest ones with 9 commissioners on that panel, plus some managers and whatever in there. So between 5 and 9 folks, that you have to get at least half of them to vote yes for something that you want to do in your local jurisdiction there. Now, sometimes the other states have parishioner offices and different precinct sort of situations. So interpret that to mean these local elected officials that are directly responsible for county-based programs like extension. So it may look different in your state, but this is where I'm coming from, and hopefully it'll apply to what you're doing. Oh, by the way, Harriet Edwards is on our call today. She's we're co-presenting. However, her allergies are preventing her from talking very well. So she'll chime in with some things, and maybe on the chat, maybe by text, saying, Mark, you really need to talk about what we said we were going to do. And so there's that. Harriet and I also worked on a statewide project for the State Advisory Council of Extension, so that we're bringing in some statewide things as well from the advisory and volunteer advocacy role that we've both been participating in, and that Harriet continues to do at NC State, although I jumped ship over on the other side of Cooperative Extension for North Carolina with my good friend Fletcher Barber that I see right there on the screen. As far as the demographics of these folks, I'll flip through these pretty quickly. Urban, suburban, rural, it was mixed, similar to our state. So we have a highly rural state. And so green is rural, orange is urban, and blue is kind of suburban, based on one nonprofit's interpretation of that stuff. So the commissioners saw their demographics as much more suburban than most groups give counties credit for. We'll find out that the more rural that you can get them thinking their constituents are, the more positively they'll think about cooperative extension. So I'm not saying skew the numbers. I'm saying remind them of the rural nature of their constituents, and they tend to be more positive about extension. Also, if you ask them about how important agriculture is to the local economy, only one person said it's not at all important. And so maybe that's an education opportunity for that individual. But the more you can get them thinking about how important agriculture is to the local economy, the more positively they'll think about extension. And that was another one of the correlations of this study. So I'm trying to figure out what people really want to know about extension. And so that you can craft your message to talk to your local elected officials and your state folks and your federal legislators when you're talking to them. So these are some of the numbers behind what county commissioners, what local elected officials really think about extension. All right. And I'm going to circle one here for you. And so these three came out on top for evaluation criteria. So when you ask them, what are you basing your opinion of extension about? And this is great because it lines up with our logic models, right? We want when you're reporting on things, when you're evaluating on things, numbers matter, but numbers don't matter near as much as the behavior change, the incorporation of new ideas, the learning, the implementation, the attitude changes, behavior changes, but then those impacts. And so you got economic impacts made it in that top three, cost savings or increased earnings. So you can talk about how we're saving families money with our nutrition programs and our financial literacy programs, because it's Financial Literacy Month here around tax season. About increased earnings, so new job opportunities for folks. Pesticide education is keeping people employed, and they're earning this much. So talk about that with those individuals, and knowledge and skills gained by clients. They want to know that what we're doing is working. We're educators, so if we're just talking to a wall, that's no good. So make sure that those elected officials know that people are gaining those skills and knowledge and not just attending classes, because those things show up, but it's because I asked them all. They're way down there. You got to tout these things. Environmental impacts, social impacts didn't make it as high up, but when you look at the numbers differently, BMPs and environmental impacts made it. So that's some of the things that some of you work on. And so it's great to talk about those things. Converted that thing. Communication preferences. So how they want to hear about it. Look at the top 4. These stood out statistically. Personal contact makes it in the top 2 there. They want to hear from you. They also want to hear straight from citizens and our clients. That's the key deal. So just shooting off a newsletter, cutting out the newspaper and copying that and sending it over to your local elected official is one thing, but they want that personal touch, that the contact with an individual, whether it's on your staff or clients. I was surprised that clients came in second. So you can check that on your own with the link I'll put in the chat in just a little bit. Annual presentations, reports to the people, that counts. So do that. They like hearing that. And electronic newsletters and reports, those also showed up. Got to highlight social media posts. Those had the highest do not prefer rankings. So there's a handful of people that don't want to hear anything over social media. So if you're relying on that, you need to check that with your audience. In this case, we're talking about local elected officials. Awesome. Here's how they're basing their perceptions of performance. So they're going to think highly of us if we add value to the community. These are the rankings. These are the criteria they're putting us through. Does Cooperative Extension add value to the community? If they think so, then they're going to be happy about that, about us. They're also evaluating us based on making positive impact, and if we're effective, and if we align with county goals and vision. So when you talk to these individuals, tell that story in general, and also highlight all these things about, oh, this is how we're adding value to the community. Oh, we're making a positive impact in these families, in this community, in this part of our economy. We're effective. But also talk about how you're aligning with those county goals and visions, your local goals, your local vision. Even if it's, like, I was involved in the latest local visioning process, and it was a good one. It was fine, but it looked remarkably like the one that was on the shelf 10 years ago that I found from the last county director that helped with the last one. So small things change. And we're probably doing the right stuff, and we're probably doing it in the right way. But if you can communicate how the things that we're doing now are lining up with whatever the newest and most recent vision and plans for the county, the better off we'll be. All right. Reaches people who need those services, pops in if you show all the other statistics and such. And this was a couple years ago, and COVID has changed a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more social justice that's in the public ear and eye. And so as you can weave those topics into your discussions with these individuals, then you'll be more effective. There's a little dog leg here, this little L. This is overall perception of cooperative extension, the OP, is related to the importance of agriculture. And the importance of agriculture is also related to whether constituents are urban, suburban, or rural. The more rural they are, the more important they think agriculture is to the community and to the local economy, and then the more positive they'll be about perceptions of extension. The more you get them involved, that's this one, right? The more you get them involved with extension, whether it's passing out ribbons at an event, whether it's giving a little intro at an award ceremony, whatever it is, if you can get them to be a speaker at a local issues topic, breakfast, whatever you're doing, get them involved. If they have a kid in 4-H, they're going to be more likely, fortunately, be more likely to have a positive experience and perception with extension. Fortunately, it's not the other way around. If it was worse, the more they got involved, oh man, that's bad news bears. So unfortunately, when they are more involved with us, whether it's on an advisory board, so get them on your advisory council, or at least invite them and such, the more you can get them involved in extension activities and guiding things, then you'll better off we'll be. Suggestions to improve the relationship, and that's where I'm gonna go over to the chat box. Oh, there, no. Yeah, chat box, there it is. Okay, yeah. Even the urban counties have rural pockets. That's right. Finding the links, here we go. I got a document for you, a little worksheet. That I'm struggling to bring it over. There we go. Got a worksheet for you. It's a Google Doc. You can print that out on your own, or you can just look at it and think through some of those things, because we're going to talk through some of those issues. Improving the relationship between cooperative extension and local elected officials. The most respondents had comments that themed around improving internal communication. So communication is like a big, just hairy nugget of advice, right? Hey, I want better communication. Well, does that mean I'm not listening? Does that mean I'm not speaking clearly? There's so many things around there. But I'll give you some examples of what they shared. And you can think through, I got 2 columns on that worksheet, right? So, I shouldn't have showed them all at the same time. I had to do one at a time. Oh, well. So, yeah, okay, there we are. Your worksheet has blanks so that you'll pay attention as I'm going through. But then I just have them all on the same slide. So that one's free today. Harriet would have fixed that. No, Harriet's great. Improving internal communication. So right on that left box, what your current situation is. You're gonna have to download your own copy. Don't mess with it on the original, because then everybody's gonna see that, see what your problem is. Download a copy and write that in. You can also take your own notes on your own. That'll be quite all right. But take your own copy off of that one and write in on that left side what your current situation is. Improving internal communication. How do I currently communicate with my elected officials? So I'll give you my examples. Fortunately, there's a federal office for our legislator, our House of Representatives person in the federal government layer. And so I go over and I'll bring our report to the people. I'll bring an invite to a local extension event or something like that over to the legislative assistant that's in the local office. So I see Chance from time to time, and I do that. So I'm trying to improve that internal communication on that level. With the commissioners, I just show up at meetings. That seems like a novel approach, but it's working for me. It did. I came into a county situation that had pretty rough relationship with the county and the extension office there. So I started going to their meetings, and they started liking us more. So go to meetings. What are some of the things that you do currently that are on your communication side of things, and also actions you can take? So you can give me current stuff or things you're planning on doing based on our conversation so far today.
Mark, there is one comment
in there.
You do? It is one comment from Craig Williams, but he runs into his commissioners in the hallway, and he says we need to be ready to give good extension updates. I think that kind of goes to the topic you was talking about, going to the meetings, and if you you think would be true for urban extension agents as well. Just be prepared to give an update at any point in time.
Nice. Have those 2 sentences ready. Well, that's good.
And then another one from Megan. When I began my role as a county director, I went to a meeting just to listen, and they were confused and asked why I was there. They weren't used to it.
Isn't that something, right? So, what do you want? I could always tell when the public works director wanted a bigger pot of money than usual because he would dress up more. So there's all kinds of little things you figure out. And even if you're not a director, right? I don't know what all your roles are, but even if you're not a director, ask and talk to your director about going to those meetings, right? You're here at this conference because you care about these leadership issues, these public issues. So talk about getting involved at that local level. And directors, anybody that's in charge at the county level, major agents, whatever you call them in your states, consider involving your staff just to come, right? Like Heather did, just started coming. And so bring your other people so they get that bigger perspective. Think about when you were an early career agent. Like, man, what goes on in those people's minds to make that decision? Well, if you had gone to the meeting and seen the back and forth between the commissioners, you'd have a better perspective, and you might have a little more buy-in, or be able to craft a better message for next time, so that Craig has a better update to share when he bumps into people in the hallway. Nice. Why are you here? Good stuff. Yeah, and invite them to the local advisory council. That's perfect. So yeah, Harriet and I have a commissioner and a manager on the state advisory council. So if you're involved in that at all, find those people at your local level to feed them into the state advisory council as best you can. Nice. The next one is that our existing relationship is good. You'll notice that the last one, so almost 2 out of 5 said to improve internal communication. About 1 out of 3 said existing relationship is good. So you need to ground truth that, because that's not going to get you any contiguous votes, right? So existing relationship is good. That's one that you can build on. But, and so make some of your people feel like they have it all. Like they're the only kid who made the A of the class, and every other county has to be on the curve. So if you can, and the rest of the comments, I only truncated these. A lot of that other stuff, we're kept in the loop regarding any and all events. That goes back to improving internal communication. So if you can address that one, that's the primary one, then these other things will fall in line. Oh yeah, Kaya, way to go. Monthly activity reports. Oh, and she's reached, nice. So keep it up. I like that you're sharing in the chat. That gives everybody ideas. If you got a really good one that's burning on you, then you just pop in, cut me off, and talk to everybody about it. I'm totally happy with that. Love to have some conversation as we talk about the things we're going to do. Additional collaboration. This is about you working with other partners at the local level. And we talked, remember, about aligning with the local plans, the local vision, the local goals. That's part of it. To do that collaboration with those other departments. And so this is a good time to chime in about how you're doing stuff with other local agencies, departments, even nonprofits that a person might care about. So I was at a county commissioner meeting when I heard one of the commissioners invite the others to a ribbon cutting at a domestic violence shelter. And so I was like, oh, that's important to that guy. And I don't think he's in my 33% of people who really like us. And so I started doing more with that group and offering our services, right, to our family consumer services, sciences side of the house to help with that group. What have you done? Ooh, good question, Sabrina. Oh, Sabrina's all about this. These great questions. You had a good one in the Hoover app, and now here in the chat. What would you say to a new agent about how to begin collaboration when you have no connections in the county? Oh, number one, I think you're selling yourself short. You got the job. So you either have some connections or you at least have potential to make connections quickly. So what would you say to somebody who has few connections in the county? Oh, animal shelter. Yeah, there you go. Give us some more ideas in there. If your relationship is good, yeah, nice. Good job thinking about that. And additional collaboration. Oh yeah, that's right. Go get some barbecue and some sort of dinner. Nice. Be careful not to just go to the Republican ones or just to go to the Democrat ones. You might want to go to the community ones rather than the political ones, at least at first. Whew. Good. Yeah, don't be intimidated. Like that. Yeah, they're passion is on their turf. Nice. Good. And Craig's talking about pastures for dairy cows, so that's cool. Nice. For increased marketing efforts is the next one. Yeah, start building with your volunteers. Oh yeah, volunteers are a really good way to figure that out and get them collaborating. And then you can share about what your volunteers are doing to bring extension information and extend that out into the community, into those things that those people care about. Oh, nice. I really like that. Good job, everybody. Increased marketing efforts. A lot of people say that extension is the best kept. What? Ah, nice. Thank you, Emily. All those lips moving. Best kept secret. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's not so good. We talked about it yesterday. They talked about it at the last PILD conference. They talked about it at the PILD conference before that. They talked about it at the PILD conference before that one. This is a continued issue, and it came up in this survey. So fix it. Increase your marketing efforts. It's hard because the population is constantly growing in a lot of places and ballooning in some. How are you going to get to all those new families, all those new lawns? What are you going to do to get that marketing effort? That comment it speaks to the commissioner knowing a little more about extension. We've diversified our services. We are here for all these new people, but they don't know about us. So even in those critical spots, the critiques that we received in this survey, there's still lots of glimmers of light in them. So these commissioners want us to succeed. So don't be intimidated. I like what somebody else put in the chat earlier. You don't have to be intimidated by that. They want you to succeed. So get in there and do some stuff. Nice. How are you increasing your marketing efforts? What are you doing to get the word out about extension? And the one about addressing funding and staffing, hiring professional marketing people. Whoa. Hey, yeah, right. Way to go, Molly. We hired somebody that was good at social media into an administrative position, and that's helped a lot. I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep her there in Brunswick, but it's at least worth putting on a job description. Yeah. Oh yeah, new format for the reports. Make friends with a newspaper editor. Yeah, it's so true. The newspaper editor. What about the cable news people? Those folks are usually looking for stories, and the cable folks don't have the same that they have pressures, but they're different pressures than some of the over-the-air people. So that's a neat inroad that I've found. Yeah, nice. And a lot of the people that matter read the paper, so do that. Addressing funding and staffing is the last one that kind of grouped a lot of stuff together. It was a small group of people, right? 6.25%. But they were rather vocal about that. There's so much pressure on county commissioners and local officials for all these unfunded mandates that extension can get lumped into if somebody doesn't really clearly understand what's going on. So then you got this state initiative coming down. We gotta get more county money into the extension program. Well, that gets frustrating after a while for some people. So if you can show those individuals that you are fighting back, right, to the state officials, right? So they said, increase state funding to keep adequate staff, expand services, but we need more state funding to do it. If you can just show, my interpretation of the comments that we received on this one, so if you can show that you're pushing back on state initiatives, hey, my county is really wanting to participate here, but you're making it kind of rough. Say that to your district person, right? JJ's a district guy. Just say it, and then you can tell the commissioner that you had that hard conversation with the district guy, and it's still coming. So you can show that you're caring about the county enough to push that back up. Those were some of the handful of comments around that. So show that you're a team player, you're aligning with the goals, you're increasing your communication, you're increasing your collaboration to improve this and strengthen this relationship. And when things get tough, you're having those hard conversations with the people at Extension. So do that. Oh, I like what you said there. Oh, nice, about making new reports. Good stuff. Great chat, everybody. Way to go. Oh, so I'm reading a book about making sure you share your gratitude and recognize people. So big round of applause to JJ for what he's keeping together, holding us together here in this session, this starting off on day 2. This is good stuff. Thanks for all of you who have chatted in with your questions, chatted in with your comments, and your answers back to some of those tough questions in there. Good stuff. Okay. To recap on the data side of things, so many of the overwhelming majority, like almost everybody, thought that agriculture is very or extremely important to the local economy. So hype that. Even our family consumer science friends do talk about how agriculture provides some of the food that we're local foods. You can tie that in. You can talk about farm families. You can do all kinds of stuff to bring that in. And there's a big turnover. We didn't even talk about that. 7 years is median service level for those folks. There's a handful of people that have been in for a long time and a whole bunch that are brand new. And we're seeing that a lot in politics in general. So there it goes again, internal communications, improving that. So if you think you've told them, you've not told them enough. Keep hammering on what Extension does and how we're effective. Hit those things that people care about that we'll talk about right now. Include them. Didn't even mention 7 out of 10 commissioners that responded have more than a high school education. So you've got this foundation, this framework for higher education that you can leverage. Adding value to the community, making positive impacts, and being effective and aligning with my goals and vision. Those were what they're basing their perceptions on. And the communication preferences. What did they want? Individual contact, personal contact with you, personal contact with citizens. So harp on those things. Annual reports received no resistance, right? So nobody hated annual reports. So good luck out there. And you can ground truth that. You can check on that with your local folks. Nice. Personal. Social media is a little iffy depending on the people. So evaluation criteria, they're evaluating us based on cost savings. Like, are we helping people save and make money? Are we helping make environmental impacts? Are we helping people gain knowledge and skills? Are they implementing the BMPs that we're suggesting? BMPs, that could be on a farm, that can be in your family finances, that can be in the kitchen. All those things matter. So for chronic disease and for those social sides of things, as well as environmental impacts. So weave those in as you're talking. Extension shares the amount of information I need and the type of information I need. Those were the bottom of the barrel on the survey. So I've said it before, if you think that you've told them enough information, that you've communicated enough with your local elected officials, keep doing it and double down. All right, the importance of agriculture related to a lot of stuff, like overall perceptions of extension and being more involved in extension and rural nature of your constituency. So harp those things, weave those in as you can, and harp on some of the other things that we've talked about. Nice. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to increase that internal communication. We're going to maintain our strong relationships. We're going to be a good team member. We're going to develop and implement a marketing plan or hire marketers as we can, and fight back, address those funding and staffing issues as best you can with state extension folks. Show them that you're working on the good stuff. Overall, we're doing okay, but keep communicating with our friends. Oh, and I submitted this thing before. I'll put my new email in the chat, along with another great link. Let's open up, so start talking. What are some of the things you plan to do? We talked a lot about, I'm gonna stop sharing, that'd be better. What are some of the things that you're planning on doing? And JJ, how much time we got?
Mark, you got 21 minutes.
No, we got lots of good conversation that can happen right here. Talk about some of the things you're planning on doing, and I'll throw a link in the chat with my dissertation. I don't care that you read the thing. I want you to look at the last 3 pages. That's the physical copy. Just print off the last 3 pages of this thing, hand it to your local elected officials, and boom, you'll get some feedback if you're brave enough to try it. All right.
Mark, one question that we've got a couple of times is your PowerPoint. Was you able to upload it, or can you share it with the group?
Hot dog. I'll get that thing shared. I'll upload it in the documents file of the conference, right? That's the best place to put it.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I just make it so, folks, if you're interested in his PowerPoint, that's where I would go to try to find that as well. Any more? Questions for Mark? And I believe if you've got a microphone and you want to ask it outright, or you can type it in the chat, either one. So, Mark, I'll ask you a question. So you're saying, the old perception, I've been doing this for quite some time. And when we first got into this job, it was counting, butts and seats. Now you're saying it's more important to measure impact than count numbers of heads.
And isn't that what the evaluation specialist on campus has been telling us for that entire time, right?
Well, the thing is when I started, there was no such thing as evaluation specialists, and they've hired them off and on, through my career. And you're correct. That's what they've been saying. So my question to you is those measurements are a little tougher to get at sometimes. So what do you see as some easy steps to kind of get to some of those numbers easier than what some evaluation specialists are getting at? So.
Oh, sure. So environmental impacts, right? Craig has shared some of those with me, even in just regular conversation, just shooting the breeze in hallways at conferences, right? So he talks about reducing mortality on the farm. He talks about increasing the health of that.
Oh, Mark, you muted yourself somehow.
Oh, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Maybe we'll try that. So
Emily's laughing at you. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So some of the things that you would say to kind of justify your existence. So, oh man, I had 43 farmers in a class. Well, that's not worth the money that I'm putting into extension if I'm the commissioner here, because I pay a whole bunch of money for the community college for meat and seats, and that's one of their criteria. But I want to see those people getting jobs here locally and making new jobs, making businesses. So talk about the next level. So John came to my program and started doing these things, because I went back and checked on him, and he's doing this and it's making a difference on his farm. Or Sue tried this new recipe, but it wasn't about the recipe. It was about how she communicated with her family and really reconnected with her kids. And now they got a thriving family. So it's following up with your clients and your attendees and putting that story together for yourself. So when you talk to somebody about what makes you so happy about your job, that little story is way better than 5 people came to my Zoom class, or I had 100 people on a webinar the other day. So having those follow-up stories is a really good start. What else you got?
There's several comments, and Sarah, I've seen your comment about being a silent educator and having just a few people in the seats who represent millions of pigs. My director and I had that conversation just the other day about it's a whole lot better to, say we made an impact of some dollars or whatever versus I had 10 people show up to the meeting. So, but we do have a question here. I want to get to some of these questions. How do you manage relationships with county commissioners where land grant extension is competing with publicly funded regional teacher colleges?
Put them out of business. So do your job better.
Christopher, we got the same problem here in Oklahoma. We got not colleges, we have NRCS. We're competing now with NRCS and like Noble Foundation and Kerr Center for the same thing. So
So there's some unique things that I think we can do better, and that's some of those internal relationships, and that's aligning better with goals. We have more flexibility than a lot of those other organizations the ones we have more flexibility than may be different than the ones that are more flexible, but that we have more relationships inside the county workings, right? So it goes back to those fundamentals of how to strengthen a relationship. It was those 5 things. It was increase your internal communications, tell them what you're doing. And if you tell them what you're doing more than the other people, then you'll more likely get more money and more support from those commissioners. If you work more collaboratively than the other folks do with those internal groups, internal to the county first, show that strength, and then reach out to these competitors to find some things that match up in the Venn diagram that won't get you in too much trouble. And then show that you're fighting for the county. And those other groups don't usually do that. So go back to those things on the worksheet, focus on those, do your job really well, and things usually work out pretty well. That's what I'd say.
Mark,
other experiences?
Yeah, well, I got another question. How can 4-H educators show impact when we really don't know the impact for another 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, you should wait for at least a decade and a half before you submit any annual report. You think that's going to cut it? Shoot, no. But you got great stories of these kids. Oh man, and kids of the future. And parade a few of them into a county commissioner meeting on National 4-H Week. You got support from all those people and their families and those commissioners for life. So, but it all goes back to fundamentals. What's on your logic model? Right? If you have a solid program planned out and you can communicate that, then those commissioners are going to want their kids involved, and they're going to tell their constituents to get involved. And when they're involved, then they're more happy with extension. So make that happen. Again, some 4-H or some 4-H youth development professional, type in there, help us out. Give us some, give us some good examples in there.
So got a few comments here that I think are kind of apropos to what we're talking about from Anita. I think it's okay to share numbers in terms of people. However, those numbers need to be put in context to show impact. Be sure to share the so what, which is the impact. So I think that's kind of a message we're talking about.
Yeah, and I like that alum situation, talking about alumni. And there's so many 4-H alums that will talk back to about the success they have now is based on a lot of the fundamentals they received in 4-H. So I had a county manager who showed sheep when she was a kid, and a county attorney who was into civic stuff with 4-H. So those were easy callbacks about 4-H matters, and it gets you through the slump. Like, so if you're brand new, and there's unfortunately a bunch of turnover in 4-H, so if you can bring those stories of this person is successful in my county, they're making a difference here, and 4-H made a difference in their life. If you want more people like this person to live here, then we need to invest in our youth right now. So there's that.
All right, here's a nice tough question for you. What advice can you give for an agent like me who is transferring to a new extension office in a different state, district that is both rural and very urban, but the urban sector has been largely untouched by extension? What steps can I take to convince officials that the schools in urban areas need ag areas and backyard poultry?
I don't know.
He's got the administration office down pat. I don't know. It depends. That's what the right answer is. It depends.
Oh man, we're giving 30-second advice for a problem that's going to take years to figure out. But my correlations went back to when you can emphasize rural, then they'll realize how important agriculture is. And these folks associated agriculture with extension for better or for worse, right? So as you can do that, you'll at least get a foothold in. And urban folks, there's a whole lot of local food stuff going on. There's pieces that we can do well in urban environments, right? So you got food insecurity, so we can stretch those food dollars with all kinds of great extension programming, great, solid, science-based extension programming. You got youth development issues in those urban places. So even if you're the backyard poultry agent, like, ride some coattails as you come into town. Get on 4-H bandwagons. Start with the kids and then expand out. Right? Our capital city in North Carolina is Raleigh. There's a highway that goes around it. It's called the Beltline. And there was a group, just not extension included at all, that started a little traveling conference around, they called it Henside the Beltline. Hensides, right? So it was backyard flocks that may or may not have been fully legal at that time. And these people were going around town and doing that. So if you can find those people and give them the science-based information they need to succeed, then even if it is a skunk works like that, you might just find some really neat people that can help you tell your story and weave it in to a bigger audience. You can do it. It's all fundamental. So do your logic model, figure out who your audience is, what you're good at, what they need, and then just put all those pieces together. You are the spider person to shoot those webs between those needs and fill that gap and get it all together. Extension is just starting to get into our prime, right? We're 100 years young and we can do this. People need us. Urban areas need us. County commissioners need us to look good in front of their constituents, and we need jobs. So make this happen, because I want new people to be able to have great careers in extension like we're just starting to have. So make it happen, everybody.
All right. At this
Anybody
time,
else want to talk?
well, I want to see it. You know, I did fail to introduce Harriet because I wasn't sure she's going to be able to make it. But Harriet Edwards is a co-presenter, and I know she's having allergy issues. Harriet, would you like to say a word or two here towards the end? Give you the opportunity if you can, if you want to, since you are listed as co-presenter. No voice at all. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I give you the opportunity to speak. I understand, sir. Sometimes I wish my wife had laryngitis too. So, but so any other questions? Any other questions?
So, time you see Harriet on a conference program, go there. So you got second best with me today, but next time find Harriet and go to her classes.
All right, guys, we got about 7 minutes. Any other questions that you'd like to ask? I mean, sir, next up is the lunch break for the PILD conference. But I'm willing to. It's not lunchtime here in Oklahoma, so I'm willing to spend a little extra time if we need to.
Yeah, I'll stick around, but we can give people the gift of a few more minutes of lunch. So we'll stick around for questions they have. Let's have a great conversation these last 7 with whoever wants to stick around.
Yep.
Everybody give it up for JJ.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good job, man.
I just showed up, Mark. That's all I did. My
Man, the
job
world is
showed up.
run by people who show up.
So, all right. Here's a question from Jay Craig. So what's your experience with local government officials and how to document the value of Facebook or social media interactions as compared to face-to-face meetings?
So remember, they didn't want to hear about who attended as much as they wanted to hear about the behavior change, the knowledge gain, the cost savings. So that's weave that into the story. So also the experiences I've had are people like more when you're trending, right? So you can talk about last year we had this many and we were super proud of it, but we invested a little more time and we've reached this many more people this year. So COVID was part of that, but as you can show that something you did worked. So we invested a little more in this particular social media platform, and it really started reaching this demographic or women in this age category or these families. So if you can do that and talk about the successes that you've had with that social media and the differences that it made in those individuals or communities, community development folks, if you were able to connect people together that weren't able to do that before, then amazing. If you can show your social media is getting to people that you never reached before or that really need those services, Extension reaches the people who really need our services. That came up in the survey. So that was something that those commissioners cared about. So that's the way I would weave that social media stuff in there. Right. So they're probably reading the newspaper. They probably see your articles. So they know that you have that as a baseline. But if you can talk about social media doing greater reach or getting into communities that you haven't been in before or that were underserved prior and that are part of your plan or that align with your county mission and vision and goals and such, then that's really gonna hit a tender spot for these officials.
One more. Any tips on encouraging or managing the tracking of interactions with county government officials?
So I don't know that I've seen somebody do that quantitatively. I've seen a lot of people know that they're making a difference and making some inroads with those relationships. For me, it was, two examples. I'll share two stories. So I told you I came into a rather contentious county, and for some reason, the district director really didn't share that with me during the interview process. But so I didn't know it at first. And so I was going in all naive until the last CED kind of steps aside and says, hey, you need to look at this. But 2 years in, as a county commissioner who ended up being the chair of the commission for a while, he was done. He was not going up for re-election again. As we were walking out of a meeting, he steps over to me and says, things are different now. You're an asset to the county, and we appreciate what you're doing here. And so I immediately received and also kicked that compliment back to the staff, talking about how everybody's working together and we're working on these things. That's when I knew that some of what we were doing is working. That's one. The second story is with Farm Bureau, right? So even though our county is made up primarily of a whole lot of small farmers, there's some bigger guys that lead the work at the Farm Bureau. And so I started attending those meetings. I was invited, so I came, and I kept coming. And when I started getting eye contact with some of those guys that had never stepped foot in our office and that had a not so good relationship with Extension in the past, even if they never asked me a question for my input, I started getting eye contact. And that was when I knew that some of the stuff I'm doing here, some of the ways I'm communicating based on the survey, based on other things, is connecting, even if it's with a group that aren't our full decision makers. Like it's making a difference because we're connecting with them. So that'd be me. What about you, JJ? You got a good example?
Oh, no, not off the top of my head. I'd have to think about that one for just a little bit, and we don't have that much time
Okay.
left. I got 1 minute left, or less than 1 minute. So once you kind of make a final comment, we'll call her good.
All right. Hey, this has been great today. I'm proud of you just for showing up to the Public Issues and Leadership Development Conference. Right? It shows that you know that those things matter to Extension and that Extension matters to our public officials. So communicate more than you ever thought was necessary. And we've been all of these good stories that you already have, you already know that are gonna pique their interest. Things like those higher level evaluation criteria that we've been hounding for years, that your administrator always talks about, but that you're not really, that I was never really excited about diving into and finding out and sharing. They need our information to do their jobs, so give it to them. You're the only ones who can. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Mark, great information. Great job. Appreciate it. Thanks for giving it out. Good luck in your new position. Fletcher, sorry, can't do nothing. Y'all made the decision, so y'all have to live with it now. So guys, thanks for that, and we'll see y'all down the road. Remember the next session, I believe, starts at 12:15, or well, 12:15 my time, here about an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll see y'all down the road. Thanks for showing up. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Aggie Pride?
Huh?
That's our new my new call sign for A&T. Cool, man. See you guys.
See ya.